welcome back to the table. I'm Kaleb, and I'm here with the one and only Miriam Flo.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. You're supposed to sing your intro like a Disney princess.
Hello, hello.
I only say that because Miriam loves to sing, and she's actually very good at singing.
Sure,
so
thank you.
If I had a voice like hers, I would sing my intro every single time. So there's that. But welcome to the table, where we talk about anything from cheeses to Jesus. And the way that our podcast is set up is we have an appetizer, we have an entree, and we have a dessert. And the appetizer is something kind of light and fluffy and fun and delicious, like a good cream puff. And the entree is more like a dinner, type of, or food or lunch. You can have a lunch entree as well. A good sandwich.
Yep.
And then we have a dessert, which also like a nice cream puff, like a light or a bowl of ice cream or
a heavy dessert.
Or a heavy dessert, like
rich chocolate cake.
Triple chocolate cake, decadent chocolate deliciousness. So what's your favorite dessert? On the spot.
I don't know.
If you say pumpkin or carrot cake, I'm going to.
Yeah, no. It would be something chocolate or lemon.
Yeah.
Not a cake, though, usually. It's going to be a cookie or ice cream or something.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm not
basically
really a cake
just
person.
About any kind of ice cream would be a winner for me. I love all kinds of ice cream. So for our appetizer today, actually, ice cream makes me happy. Look at that segue.
That's pretty good.
What is something that you do in your life
that makes
to make you happy?
Okay, so I really like to read.
Okay.
So it makes me really happy to just take, I'll say half an hour, but it's going to be an hour or two to sit and just read, like just fiction. So this is separate from any kind of like personal development stuff, but like just fiction. Yeah. Just kind of whisk away. And I love to read outside, actually.
Yeah. That's fun.
If the weather's nice.
Right. Or cold, which you love.
Cool. Yes.
If it's snowing outside, Miriam's going to be there.
Oh, that actually, you know what really makes me happy? Snow.
Yeah.
And the other night it was after Winter Jam, went to Winter Jam.
Yeah.
And it was just flurrying a little bit. And we haven't had a lot of snow this year, actually.
No, we haven't.
And I try to temper my enthusiasm because I know that snow is not like everybody's favorite thing.
Speaking of enthusiasm, I'm just going to move this over to this side.
So I don't.
Just in case.
Be a disaster. I love it. But so I was walking back. The kids had a lock-in here. Yeah. And I'd brought over some blankets or something. And I was walking back to the house and it was kind of flurrying. I just stood outside for a minute, just let the snow hit it was cold. Yeah, it was. But I just stood out there for a minute, just let the snow hit my face because I really, really love that moment. And it's the only time it snowed this past year has been at night. Right. I haven't really had that. And so I just love to stand there and just feel it. So that does make me happy. So. Yeah. It was a nice moment. It was. For me.
I love to listen to music.
Oh, yeah.
That's one thing that I love to do that makes me happy. And it can be different kinds of music, but most of the time, like music that makes me happy is like heavy rock and roll or like alternative rock.
Headache inducing.
Yeah. Like,
sometimes.
Like the best thing for me typically is just put in headphones and do the dishes while I'm doing it. And like I can have a really good time cleaning the house and doing the dishes by putting in headphones and being able to, it's like, I feel like I get to be in my own world for a moment.
There is something about like a good song that kind of takes you away that you can make a mundane task seem like this is fun. Let's go.
I can have a really good time doing that. So that's fun. I love listening to music. I love music. So, and different kinds of music. It's not just like heavy rock, but that kind of stuff. But speaking of happiness, let's move on to our entree today. And I was thinking about things that in regards to happiness and, are certain inalienable rights like life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Sure. This is America. This is how we get to live, right? And we have our own opinions on these, which we don't necessarily have to share at this point in time on this podcast. But what I was thinking about, so on my Twitter feed, I've been getting a lot more like political things. I don't know if that's because like algorithmically, like I clicked on something and it happened to be a political video, and because I don't typically look at a lot of that stuff a whole lot. I have my own thoughts and opinions on everything there, but I don't go down the rabbit hole of deep political things. And but one of the things I do love is the Constitution, and I do love history.
Sure.
And so it just got me thinking about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I was thinking about that in the context of a Christian life.
Okay.
Like not just in the context of America, but in the context of a Christian life and what God has provided for us, right? That Jesus comes to give life, give it abundantly. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. Mm-hmm. And that in the presence of the Lord, there is fullness of joy.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about the life, the liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Okay. But what got me, like, I guess the question, and maybe something for us to kind of talk about today is, I don't necessarily want to talk about life or liberty, but it's this pursuit of happiness.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to talk about this is because it's something that I have noticed, and you might have had this conversation a little bit before, as well as I think me and Taylor, of just this perspective that I feel like I've been seeing. And some of it is just culturally, like in our non-denominational, charismatic, Pentecostal, full gospel, whatever labels you want to put on it, kind of a culture, which is this constant pursuit of, I'm going to use air quotes, like the next level or going deeper or, that pursuit of something greater. And we use spiritual language like going from glory to glory, maturing into Christ-like maturity. And I believe all that stuff.
Yes.
I'm not saying that is untrue or not good. But what this is, here's where the conversation, and I'll open it up for you to talk here, is this idea of what is the pursuit of happiness, where you're basically seemingly thinking, I will be happy if I could, or when this happens, like.
When the car's paid off and the house is paid off, then I can be truly happy.
Then I can be truly happy. When I look when I lose 15 pounds, then I'll be happy.
Then I can be happy.
When the bands play my song at church, then I'll be happy. When the preacher preaches the message that I want to hear, then I'll be happy. And I'm not saying that people say that or think that, but there's this almost subconscious kind of deal where it's like, oh, when God is moving, then I'll be happy, right? And we got to talking about this thing called destination, that destination mentality, that destination mindset. And I think there is a benefit to always seeking after the Lord, obviously, and growing deeper in your intimacy and relationship with Him. But I also think that there is a detriment if your mindset goes so, like if you swing the pendulum so hard that you forget how to have life and liberty and thankfulness here in the moment right now that you're in. My father-in-law would always say that life is a journey, not a destination, and enjoy that journey. And I think sometimes in the Christian walk, or at least in circles that we run, that can maybe be lost because there's always this pursuit of the next thing that it's like, well, do you not perceive that God is doing things right now in your life?
Even if it's a subtle thing or it's a thing that isn't manifest in the way that you've defined it to need to manifest. And I think it's important too, because you sort of have done it, but to define, okay, pursuit of happiness. Is this happiness actual joy and happiness or is it personal satisfaction? Is it the yes to what I've decided it is? Is that happiness? So because I think that's what a lot of people are pursuing in this, is they're pursuing, each one of us is like, oh, like you said, when the car's paid out, then I'll be when I am financially secure, then I'll be truly happy. That will be happiness to me. But we have an opportunity in all things to choose contentedness or to choose gratitude, really. And I think if you can approach it with a sense of thankfulness for where you're at, like you said, looking at the journey, not just the destination.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
And I think that's the what you're talking about, like if I got this car or if I had this financial scenario or if then I would be happy. What you're talking about with happiness then is something that is circumstantial.
Right.
That when something would happen to me, then it would bring happiness. Like a happening brings happiness. An external
force is going to bring me happiness.
Right, right. Because I'm putting my faith in, I'm believing that when my ship comes in this way, then I will be happy, because happiness is external. What do you do to be happy? Well, I listen to music. That's external. Well, I like to be outside or read a book. That's external. And again, there's nothing wrong with those things. But I do believe there's a difference between happiness and joy.
Right.
Certainly. And that those two things one is circumstantial and one is not. I think one is more personal. But there's this, and I want to read this to you, the destination addiction.
Okay.
Because I think this can be an addiction for people.
Yes.
That it's a very
so
real thing.
Yeah,
it's a very real thing. And maybe you find yourself in this place. And if I read this and you identify with it, it's like, don't feel condemned or shamed by this. This is just something that let's identify what it is so that we can move beyond it. Right. And so destination addiction, the preoccupation that happiness is in the next place, the next job, or the next partner. And until you give up the idea that happiness is elsewhere, it will never be where you are. So you have to give up this idea that happiness is somewhere else before I can realize that it's here with me. Because if I don't give that up, if I'm always believing happiness is elsewhere, then that means that it's not where I am.
Yeah,
I've got to get to elsewhere.
Right. Yeah.
So what happens when you get to elsewhere?
Then you're still going forward. You're still looking for the next thing.
So, and I think that's the danger of the addiction. Is it's like I will find it's like take drugs for instance. You get high, and in that moment, you've chased the elsewhere because your reality is, for whatever reason, whether it brings pain or suffering or loneliness or whatever it is, and you're like, I want to fill that void with some kind of substance. So then I chase that. Once I get there, okay, in that moment, it's the high.
Yeah.
But then after that
it's the letdown, right?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
Right. Which then leads you back to, I got to get back to that elsewhere.
Right.
I got to get back to that elsewhere. And then whenever you do it for so long, then you need more, you grow, you develop a tolerance for it. So then it has to be worse and worse. Same thing with like sugar, a little bit of sugar. I'm like, whoa, yeah, let's go, and then that same little bit of sugar doesn't hit me the same as I continue to have that. So I'm continuing to seek elsewhere. I can't find the happiness. This once brought me happiness, but it's not anymore. And I think about how often in life does that take place where you do things or you have things in your life because people want to be happy innately.
Sure.
You don't want to be miserable. You want to be happy. And so you surround yourself and fill your life with things that would bring you happiness. But sometimes you develop a tolerance for those things that the friends that you had before used to bring you happiness, but you've developed a tolerance toward them. And so now you need new ones.
Right.
The church that you were in you were excited and you were happy, but now you've developed a tolerance for it. And so you need something more exciting. The partner that you're with, the job that you're in, wherever you are, you've developed a tolerance for it. And so now I have to chase something else.
Can we call it an ingratitude for it? Could that be what it is, that we're not recognizing the blessings and things right in front of us? And so when you don't have, and I hate that term, attitude of gratitude, just because it sounds so dry. I hate saying that. But if you live from this ingracious place where you're not grateful for what's around you and what you are experiencing and walking through that journey.
Yeah.
Hey, I get to grow a little bit today in this. Man, I really want it to be Saturday because XYZ. But you know what?
Right.
It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Weekend? Yeah.
If I'm always doing it, but you know what? I have 3 full days. And if I'm writing off these days, what a waste.
Well,
we have this life.
That's a good point because just even taking that as an example, most people will be, okay, it's Monday, daggone it. I can't wait till it's Friday.
Right.
Right. And you're living from this place of, I'm looking for the ahead, right? That's my destination.
Right.
Instead of finding, maybe this could have been the best Monday you've ever experienced, but because your attitude was looking for Saturday, you've missed what was in front of you on Monday.
Or Sunday morning, or even thinking, oh, it's going to be a whole week before I can get back to church. And I wish we had a midweek service that we could do X, Y, Z. Then I would truly be happy.
Right.
So you're looking at that and it all.
Well, and if we had a service every night and everyone could come and get, and that's the other thing too, because like we're going through this kind of season and time where there's this move of God that's taking place that people are seeing. It's a very, tangible, real thing that's happening. People's lives are being touched and changed, and that is happening. And people get so excited about that, and rightfully so.
They're stirred. Their spirits are stirred.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. And then when things start to kind of maybe dwindle or I'll use air quotes, go back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that things can ever go back to the way they were once God's moved on your life. That's my personal belief that once God has
set a marker down.
And and that it's not going to go back to what it was. It may go back to something different, but it's not going to go back to what it was because God has changed my life. And unless you're just a spectator on the outside watching others, then yes, for you, it will go back to the way that it was. But when you are in it and you're actively participating, your life doesn't go back to the way it was, but it doesn't stay on the mountaintop because we're not created to live on the mountaintop.
Right.
I think Taylor even mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. He talked about the vegetation grows in the valleys.
Right.
You know, this is where life happens, is down in this area, not up on the mountaintop. Up on the mountaintop, there's not a whole lot going on up there.
It's a pretty view,
It's snow-capped, and it's beautiful, and it's wonderful to be there.
It looks great.
And it's really nice.
You can see everything.
But there's a lot of life that takes place down in the valley, down on the mountainside. And so I think for us in life, like we have to walk with these steps of we need the mountaintop moments for the valleys and for the life lived. And if we're constantly only looking toward the mountaintop, then we're going to miss the life in the valley. And we're going to miss what's happening in front of us. And I think that's part of the balance that God gets to bring to our lives, if we will allow him to, is to learn how to live in the moment. That's something that I so appreciate about a friend of mine who's a Methodist minister, and their culture is very different from ours. But that's something that they bring, this attitude that they bring is like finding the joy in the now and learning to find contentedness and satisfaction in this moment, even though this may be a struggle for you right now, but learning how to be content and to stop looking so far forward and holding on, like, I got to get to that place. I got to get to that place. I got to get to that place, and saying, okay, Lord, show me here right now.
Yeah. So let me just ask you then practically, is that what you do? Is you just stop yourself and say, what do you do when you find yourself kind of looking to that? And I'm going for this. And what do you do?
So for my personal self, I am such a moving forward type of a person. Like I'm identifying more the gifting in me is building. I like to build and establish and create and drop for someone to manage. Say, okay, let's go. Let's do this. I feel like that's my gifting. So I am naturally inclined to move to the next thing.
Right.
Which means that I have a deficit in the area of learning to be right now. And that's why I feel like this is kind of just heavy on me. And it has been for about the past 2 or 3 years of Kaleb, I want, like the Lord has really highlighted this for me, is I want you to stop and rest and focus on this point right here, this moment that you're in right now. Like I'm building a house right now. Super excited about the opportunity to get into that house. But it will have been a year from the time we moved in to my parents to the time our house is ready. And I could look at that year as a whole year wasted because I'm only thinking about going forward into our new house, or I can look at it as I'm getting a great opportunity that I wouldn't have had before to spend with my family.
Right.
You know, there's a time and a moment like where most people would be like, oh man, this really sucks, that I can say, I'm enjoying this. You know, that I get to spend time with my wife and my kids more than I was before, and my mom and my dad. Like, that I wouldn't have had before.
Thank you that there's space here for us.
Yes.
Thank you that there's a willingness for us to stay here. You know, you can look at those things.
So one of the things that the Lord has had me do is, and this is how we can combat destination addiction. And this is what he's helped me with, is a right here, right now list.
Okay.
Yeah. A right here, right now list. And if you're somebody who struggles with staying here in the moment because you're constantly searching after the next thing, the next move of God, the next, whatever, Karl Marx said that church is the opiate of the people. And so like searching for that next high, and if that is you searching for the next high, then maybe this could be helpful for you. That's why I don't want to just identify it. Like let's help to break through in this, but a right here, right now list. And that list consists of 4 different things. Number 1 is the joys.
Okay. What
are the joys that you're having right here and right now in your life? Because I think that joy, and I notice it's joy and not happiness.
That's right.
That's very intentional.
It's good.
It's joy and it's not happiness, because joy is not circumstantial.
No.
Joy comes from the source of joy, which for us as believers is the Lord. That his presence is joy. His kingdom is joy.
That's right.
And the fruit of his spirit is joy.
That's right.
In me. And so when you stop and make this right here, right now list, what you're doing is you're arresting your thoughts and your attitude of the future, and you're coming back to this place of, okay, I need to refocus my perspective. I need to refocus my attention here, because it's not wrong to be thinking about the future. No. It's not wrong to be thinking about the mountaintop. It's not wrong to desire a move of God that impacts people. It's not wrong to want to better yourself. It's not wrong to have goals. It's not wrong to do any of those things. Where I find that it can be wrong and is where it becomes an idol, and you stop living here today, and you miss people around you. You miss the Lord around you and what he's trying to teach you in this moment and prepare you for that place.
Right.
And so we're so excited about getting to that place that we don't realize that all of this leading up to that is the preparation for that place.
Right. It's all part of that place.
Right.
If you think about it, encompassing, what you've learned and how you're growing, and how when you get there, you're going to be a different person. Right. If you allow yourself to change.
Yeah. And so step one is in the right here, right now list is joys. And you can actually write this out, or you can write it on your heart, like whatever works for you. Put it in your phone. I put mine in my phone. And so, but it's joys. What are the joys right now? So like for me in this moment here is the joys that I'm getting are unique time with my family.
Right.
That's a thing that is bringing me such great joy, because I love my family. And even though it's challenging and trying, because you have different kinds of boundaries than you had before, it's still a place where I can find joy. Why? Right. Because I love them.
Right.
Over the circumstance, I love them.
Right.
Like the people, who they are.
And I love not my own life to death.
Right.
Or my own preferences.
And so if you're having trouble with, destination, because you think where you are is not good enough, you don't like it. That can be such a challenge, is to arrest your attention, arrest your thoughts, and come back to say, and be able to identify what is joyful about this. Where am I finding joy? And that might be the question that will help to stop your destination just by itself. Is, wait, am I searching for joy in my location, like where I am, or am I finding it in who he is?
Right.
Because ultimately that's what it comes back to. Yeah. Like, this isn't just like a self-help podcast. No. Like, it comes back to Jesus.
Yeah.
He is my joy. It's his presence that brings me joy. So on the mountaintop, when he's there, I have joy. In the valley, when he's there, I have joy. On my journey where he is, I have joy.
Yeah. It's everlasting.
Right.
It's not cheap. It's not going to be stolen. It can't be.
Yeah. Yeah. So joys, that's the first thing.
Okay.
The second thing that I like to do, and this is, I wanted to be a teacher whenever I grew up. So this is something my parents instilled in me. But okay, so you're in the valley, or you're where you are, and you're not at quote unquote your destination. What are you learning here?
Okay.
Some trials going on in your life. You're some opportunities. My young cousin, he just died yesterday. That's not an easy thing.
Nope.
It's a hard thing. So when you're going through stuff like this in life, what can I learn in this moment? What lessons can be learned in this? Financially, you're going through hardship. What can I learn in this? When you're dealing with the stuff that goes on that maybe is would be a negative thing normally, how can I learn in this? Instead of complaining about it, or whining about it, or murmuring about it, or just wanting out of it, are there lessons here that I can learn in this moment? What can I find? How can I find joy? And what lessons can I learn in this? And I think that's a really big takeaway, because these moments are where, if you will allow him to, these moments are where God is such a really good teacher. The Bible says things like he's near to the brokenhearted. That's right. He's the father to the fatherless. He's hope for those who don't have hope, right? And so he's the one that brings peace. So in these moments where it seems like it's dark, like God does his best work in the dark. So in these moments in your life where it seems as if things are awful, that is a portal for his power to be on display. Right. Those weaknesses in your life, he can be strong in that. And so if you adopt that kind of a mentality, and it's like, okay, Lord, show me in this. What can I learn? Maybe it's, I'm learning to trust you more in this. Maybe it's, I'm learning, maybe it's a financial situation. I'm learning how to steward my finances better. Yeah. I'm learning that this is a poor decision. I think about, Edison with the light bulb and all of these 900 different ways of not making a light bulb. Yeah. It's like, oh, you failed so many times. Like, no, I didn't. I just learned how to not make it. I'm learning something like that kind of an attitude. And it's an attitude.
It is.
That's an attitude of the heart. And so that's number 2. So you have joy, you have lessons. And then number 3, love. Like for me, that's the heart song, love. And in this moment of whatever's going on, wherever I am, to help to combat destination addiction, what are you loving right now? What do you love about yourself in this? Because this is a hard one, because a lot of people will have a really negative self-image.
Sure.
And what they'll look at is, well, if I weighed less,
right?
If my teeth were whiter, right. If my hair was nicer, if my clothes were better, if I was younger, right. If I was, and so you have all these like scenarios that people go through, and they look at themselves in the mirror and they see all the negative things about themselves. And I love one time, you were saying something very negative about yourself, and Taylor jumped in and he said, "Don't say that about my friend."
Yeah. Yeah.
If we were to say out loud the things that we thought about ourselves,
right.
Or if we were to say that towards someone else, many people would probably think we were jerks.
Oh yeah. They wouldn't want to be around us for
right,
sure.
Right. And so so the third point then is learning to find the love, even for yourself in this, that you are, and that I know that can kind of sound contradictory to some who think, well, you're not supposed to love your own life. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about seeing yourself from a proper perspective, a Christ-like lens, that he obviously saw you as valuable because he spilled his precious blood
what is it worth?
For his precious fruit, which is who you are. So the Bible says. And so obviously there's a value there that he places upon your life. So if I can see myself through the lens that he sees me, then I'm going to start looking at the good things.
Right.
How do you see me? As valuable, as priceless, as beautiful, and accepting that. And so sometimes just having that little tiny shift is really, really big in the down moments, because you're like, oh, you know what? I love that right now. I'm learning how to be tough.
Yeah.
Like I'm standing firm in this. I'm not going to let this shake me. You know what? Maybe I can stand to lose 15 pounds, but that doesn't mean I'm going to beat myself up every day about it.
Right.
I'm going to be thankful that, hey, you know what? Today I'm going to give it my best effort and we're going to go. Let's go. It's just a different kind of a mindset.
In this moment today.
In this moment.
Not thinking about myself and what the picture would be 15 pounds from now, but in this moment, what does this choice look like?
Right.
Yeah.
And so the other part of that then with the love is not just yourself, but others. Because you might be in conflict with someone. Right. And so it's refocusing, okay, what do I love in them? If Jesus, you love them, show me how to love them like you love them. Maybe your down moment is because of a poor relationship that you're having. Ask the Lord to help you to see them with his love and see the value in their life, because that might be what ends up propelling you out of that trial in their life, because you took the moment to, instead of, I wish I could be out of this, to saying, Lord, help me to learn to count it all joy, the trials that we suffer, to learn how to love.
I put myself in your hands, like God. You mold me to be what I'm supposed to be. Yeah. Let me be submitted to you in this. Yeah. So
you have joy, writing the list for right now, right here, right now. What joys do I have right now? We have what lessons am I learning right now? We have how do I love, loving yourself and loving others right now? And then finally, fourth, what strides am I making? And in this, because sometimes it can be, I know for me personally, I can feel like, am I even doing anything?
Right.
And that in and of itself can lead to this like the, feeling of apathy and what's even the point, and, going through this whole almost like depressed, apathetic state of
I've just analyzed everything and here's the evidence against me, whatever, but not pulling out the measuring stick to kind of measure, okay, how far have we gone?
So strides and looking at strides. And one of the things that I actually did this year was I started making a list of projects that we have accomplished this year. Not that I measure my self-worth in the amount of projects that we accomplish, but I'm using it as a reminder of, hey, look, you are putting your hands to things, and stuff is happening. And sometimes for me personally, I have this like, what have you done for me lately mentality with myself, of, what have I done? What did I do? Oh yeah, you did this. And if I don't have that written down, then I'm not going to remember it.
Right. It's not
real.
I
need someone else to remind me of that, because I'm moving on to the next thing like that. And that's the moment, that's the thing for me that the Lord is trying to help me in and saying, okay, Like there's a value to that because I'm leading an organization, but there's also this personal thing of like, I need you to learn how to do this. And so, writing down your strides. How are you making strides? Where were you at the start of this month, this week? Where are we today? What does that look like?
Right.
You know, how do we continue? And sometimes your strides can be negative, right? And so, okay, but it's an honest evaluation and an assessment of this is where I am and this is what's going on. You know, being honest with yourself, because when you can be honest with yourself in that, then you can really, like you said, you're taking out the measuring stick. You can actually see, oh,
right.
You know what? We're not doing that bad.
Right.
Or, oh, you know what? We've got some room for improvement. Let's go.
Well, and I don't know if I'm sure you remember this, but there's one year you and I sat down and we set out goals for the year.
Yeah.
And we went through the year and we made some strides. And then at the end of the year, we were kind of like, what have we even done this year? And when we went back and looked at, hey, we wrote these things down. Oh my gosh, we did this. We did X. We did, we have accomplished these things.
Yeah.
Oh, but we need to work on this.
Right.
But to take that measure and take that evaluation was so valuable.
Right.
We had set the goal or whatever, but even looking and like saying, okay, we're going to intentionally look at this and measure and see where we've come, where we've gone.
Yeah. And all of the, again, those 4 things are to help with the destination addiction, because to stop living like future. I can't wait when, I'll be happy when, I can't wait until like, man, this is going to be so great when, And I'm reminded of this from the scripture perspective of what Paul says, which is everyone's favorite scripture all the time. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I remember when we were kids, we had this, I can leap tall buildings in a single bound, like all this nonsensical things that, aren't reality or aren't realistic because it's taken out of context of what Paul's talking about, which I absolutely love, because to me, it's an even more valuable and more powerful, transformative type of a deal when you actually look at what he's saying. Like, I've learned how to live. He says, I've learned to be content in all of these circumstances. I've learned to be humbled. I've learned to be abased. I've learned to live in much. I've learned how to deal with a lot and deal with a little. I've learned how to live on the mountaintop. I've learned how to live in the valley. And he says, I've learned to be content. And it's all because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, because it's all because of him. So he brings it back to this point of the source. That whatever I'm walking through in life, I can do it because Christ strengthens me. He is the one who strengthens me. It's the Bible says that it's the joy of the Lord that brings us strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. So I'm living from this place of joy in him. But what I wanted to look at just for a moment, we can close here, and as a kind of a dessert kind of a thing, is even just looking at this, I have learned to be content, and just breaking that part down, because maybe you should make that your confession. If you're addicted to destination, just making that my confession. I have learned to be content. What does that even mean? Well, when you say I have learned, what you're talking about is a mental change that's taken place. I thought one way at one point, but I learned this. I thought I knew how to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious until I learned how to actually spell it. You know what I mean? I lived my life a certain way until I went through classes and I learned something different. There was a change that took place in my mentality and what I understood. That to me is also coherent with and works so well with what Paul says about being transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
That there's a change that takes place when your mind changes. And so when he says, I have learned, what you're talking about is there's a change that takes place in your life, that it's not just this theory that someone else has. Oh, you told me, I've learned to be content. Oh, that's great. No, I'm saying that within me, there's something that has shifted now in my mindset that now I believe I can be content.
Right. Well, and he even gives us examples. When I abound, when I have much, when I have a lot, I've learned. When I don't have anything, I've learned. So it's like, okay, so we can look at each part of that process, like you said, and realize it is, I have learned in all things. Yeah.
And so he then goes on to say, I have learned to be content. And that content thing, man, that's such a good word. And it's one here, I think we live in such a great place. I'm very thankful for what we live, but part of the issues that we do have is with advertising and everything else that we see all around us. It's all about producing discontentedness. Because I want you to purchase the next, I want you to get the next car.
Right.
I want you to get the next best fitness thing. I want you to get you're not happy with where you are. That's why you need our product. So if I can sell you on this, if I can sell you discontentedness,
right,
then you're going to
you
want
buy
to
anything. Right.
Exactly. So we're living in a culture that is that is all about destination addiction. I mean, that's what it's about. So you're getting to live counterculturally.
Well, and can I say not only materially, but even spiritually when we think about the destination?
Yes.
I was thinking about that earlier, and we think about the destination, but it's his kingdom here on earth.
Yeah.
And we get to walk in that today.
Oh man, say that. Yeah.
And so that's what I was thinking earlier. I said, oh my gosh, we get, God, your kingdom come here on earth. We get to walk this out today.
Yeah.
I get to experience your spirit today. I don't have to just look ahead and wait not just till Sunday, but till I die.
Well, and
I can be with you.
That's so good. And even on top of that, you think about when the disciples asked Jesus, teach us how to pray. He said, give us this day our daily bread.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Live today. Be content today.
Yeah.
He didn't say give us next week's bread.
Right.
Like I need next week's bread. I need next month's bread, man. Like I need the cheddar. I need the honey, financial backing. I need what I need. I need my sustenance. I need to know that it's good to go. It says give us this day our daily bread, and what that implies is an everyday reliance upon Him. It says call no man your source. Call no man father, no earthly man father, which is source.
Right.
That no man is my source. My boss is not my source. My wife is not my source. My kids are not my source. My friends are not my source. No one else is my source but you, Jesus. And this is why Paul can then bring it back full circle to say all things through Christ.
Right.
Like this is the solution. It's through Christ. And so I've learned to be content through Christ. And so that contentedness is a thankfulness.
Yes.
I'm thankful for what I have, but it's also a satisfaction. And I want you to hear this maybe and leave with this today is that, you are allowed to be dissatisfied with where you are in life.
Sure.
That's okay. It's okay to say, you know what, I want to be better in this. It's okay to strive for being better. I want to be a better husband, a better father, a better lover. I want to be of people. I want to be, I want to be better at life. Right. It's okay to have that, but also to be satisfied in the moment because it's not a satisfaction with the circumstance.
Right.
It's a satisfaction with the person.
With Him. Yeah.
With Jesus.
Yeah. And
that's how I can learn how to be. This is why Paul can say, I am content in whatever circumstance. You can give me a lot, you can give me a little. That stuff does not matter to me. What matters to me is in Christ Jesus.
Yeah.
Everything else, no big deal. But in Christ, this is where it's at.
That's right.
And so there was a mental shift that took place in Paul's life that went from something that was circumstantial to something that was relational. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing that each and every one of us can be transformed into and can have for ourselves is this transformational shift that goes from circumstantial to relational, that come hell or high water, I'm content. Yeah. I'm good. Because you've got me, Jesus. Yep. All day.
And I trust you.
Day. And in you, I can have life.
That's right.
I can have liberty.
Yep.
And I can have joy abundant.
That's right.
Overflowing.
That's right.
So, you have anything else you want to add today?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Sounds great.
I think we can just wrap it up right there. Boom. Well, thank you for joining us at the table.
There's always a seat for you here.
Yes, there is. Question mark.
There's always a seat for you here.
There you go.